We honestly can't tell you how often people call us for help because they have applied for the wrong program for their loved one. And the answer is often the same thing. We called Social Security. We set an appointment up. No one explained to us how these benefits work. No one explained to us which program we should sign up for. And it's because of a very common misunderstanding. A lot of people believe that when you call Social Security, they are there to advise you, but they're actually not allowed to advise you. They're order takers. You have to know what you want when you call in, and you have to tell them what benefits you think you qualify for. And it comes back to you. You are expected to know the law. And this comes in confusing for a lot of people because let's be honest, who outside of this business understands what SSI is, SSDI, and more importantly, how do you help a loved one sign up for these programs when you don't even understand what these programs are? So that's why I'm really excited today. We have David Pence with Zerby and Pence, who's coming in today to help us tackle a very complex and confusing programs, SSI, SSDI, and everything we need to know about them. So thank you, David, for coming with us today.
Thank you, Tabitha, for setting this up and bringing me in the loop here, because it is one of the most unfortunate and misunderstood steps in the Social Security disability process. I see it on a regular basis that people are denied their disability benefits because they misapplied, they filed for the wrong claim, and they just didn't know.
So what you're going to learn about today is what exactly is SSI and SSDI? What are the key differences between the programs? What are the eligibility requirements for them and which program is right for you or your loved one? How caregivers can help strengthen the application and what is their role in the process? And then most importantly, how is it that you can protect that healthcare coverage for your loved one as they transition through these processes? So let's talk first to the caregiver. What exactly is your role in this process? If someone is going through a disability process, chances are they are already incredibly stressed out, emotional, overwhelmed with everything that's going on in their own body and their situation. So it can often be incredibly overwhelming for them to navigate this process. You, as a caregiver, can step in and provide huge support. Some of the things that you can do, you can gather the documents that they need. You can help collect medical records and work history for them. You can help communicate with the doctors. You can help ensure that all the proper medical documentation is in place. You can track deadlines for them. That way they don't miss important application dates, and overall just help manage the paperwork. There is so much involved in these processes, and if someone is filing for disability, they already have a lot going on. They can already be massively overwhelmed, and sometimes just having a steady hand as a caregiver supporting them can make such a huge difference. So for those of you that are stepping into this role, we want to say you're not going unnoticed. Trust us. We know it's a lot, and don't downplay your role in this because it's very, very important and you're providing much needed support. Your impact truly does matter. You may be the difference between your loved one getting benefits or missing out, and your advocacy can truly transform the outcome for those you care for. So please don't downplay your role in this. Understand your support matters and it's noticed and it's going to make a difference.
Let's talk about the most important step in filing an application for Social Security disability benefits, and that is the distinction between SSI and SSDI. Now, these are two very distinct and separate programs, and the difference in the two can be critical to whether the individual that's applying for benefits is approved. So we'll start with SSI. That stands for Supplemental Security Income. Think of this as basically welfare. It's for someone who hasn't worked their entire life or don't have enough work credits. It's for an individual who has low income or zero income and very little, if any, assets. If the individual files for SSI, SSI and is approved, their monthly check will be much lower than SSDI, and they'll be eligible for Medicaid insurance. Now, the opposite of that is SSDI, which is Social Security Disability Insurance benefits. It is the opposite of SSI. Social Security Disability Insurance benefits requires the individual to have a lengthy work record. The monthly benefits the individual will receive, if approved, is much higher. And the added benefit to SSDI is that the individual, once approved and after a 24-month expiration period, will qualify for Medicare. And that's the gold standard insurance in the disability process. So when filing your claim for disability benefits, it's so critical to tell Social Security which one you want to file for. I see it in my practice all the time. People file for the wrong disability program, and then we wait and wait and wait for a hearing. And when it comes time to get the hearing, it's discovered that the individual applied for the wrong program, a step that could have been avoided, but is a complete impediment to the claims process. And it's so unfortunate when this happens. And no one at Social Security is going to guide you through that process. It's critical to know the distinction in those two before you file that application.
So, David, I think one of the things that, we talk about a lot in this so far is understanding the difference and making sure you're signing up for the right one. So let's talk just a little bit about what happens if you do apply for the wrong one or the difference it can make. First of all, these applications can take years to go through, actual years. So if you sign up for the wrong one the first time, it can delay it for years. And then added on to it, you have a 70% higher approval chance if you sign up for the correct one the first time. Additionally, with SSDI, it is a 24-month waiting period before you get Medicare. And again, if you sign up for the wrong one first, if you apply for SSI first, and then you get denied, that application process starts all over again. So it's not like it goes by the first application for SSI for that 24-month waiting period. It's a whole brand new application process waiting time. And then talk to us a little bit about the monthly maximum income differences.
Well, the financial impact of filing for the wrong disability program can be enormous. Let me give you an example. So the maximum amount an individual can get for SSI is less than $1,000. I think in 2023, it was $914. Now that's going to go up every year with the cost of living set towards inflation. The maximum you can get for SSDI, are you ready for this? Over $3,500. In 2023, it was $3,627. So the maximum amount of benefits can triple based on filing the correct claim. So you can imagine the heartbreak of filing a claim for Social Security disability benefits, filing the wrong claim, and losing out on thousands of dollars, not to mention the 24-month Medicare wait-out period that you mentioned earlier. I mean, it can be life-changing.
So let's talk about a perfect example. And I know you see this all the time of where this happens. And we're going to go into this a little bit more with the next slide. But a very common area where this happens is with children with disabilities. So they will apply for SSI when really they should have applied for SSDI. So let's go into that and let's talk a little bit about this, okay?
There is a significant difference between SSI and adult disabled child benefits. So a child of a retiree or a disabled parent can become eligible for Social Security disability insurance benefits, even if they've never worked a day in their life, if their disability occurs before the age of 22 and their parents had enough work credits to make them eligible for coverage. So you can imagine why this is such a big deal with Social Security disability applications, because if a parent or a custodian files an application for SSI only, and we've got those strict income limits and benefit amount limits with SSI, when that child could have been eligible for SSDI benefits based on their parents' work record, which would have qualified them for potentially thousands of more dollars when they're approved. So this transition and this distinction can make a huge difference over the lifetime of the child. And it's also important to note too, with the SSDI, with the disabled adult child benefits, those benefits benefits carry on for life. It doesn't matter when the parent applies for the disability benefits. Let's say, for example, that a parent comes along or a guardian and files an application when the child is 25 years old. As long as the medical records and the evidence proves that the child was disabled prior to age 22, the child gets those benefits. Only if the individual that files the claim for the child files it for disabled adult child benefits, not SSI. It can be so confusing, and that's why it's important to just consult with a professional like Tabitha or me before filing a disability application to know that you're filing the right application. It could save you years of time and thousands in benefits.
Dave, let's talk about the top application errors. Missing medical records. I think so many people just assume Social Security has access to everything and it's just going to be done for them. This is not true, right? Like, it is up to the caregiver or the person filing for the benefits to get those medical records. Is that right?
That is absolutely right. So many times do I have people come into my office with denial letters. And when we get into the system and look to see why a claim was denied, it's because there are no medical records, no documentation supporting the disability. How can Social Security know that you're disabled without any medical records to support the claim? And it's really sad because Social Security will rule that an individual is not disabled, not based on medical evidence or good reasons. It's just because there's no evidence at all in the file. The whole file will be only a few pages. And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that is such an important thing to talk about. People have so many misconceptions about how the disability process works. And they just kind of say, it's the government. They have access to all this stuff, but they kind of don't. You have to provide those files for them, or at least provide the names of the doctors. And just how important is it to have a doctor that's advocating for you?
It is so important. It can be the most single important piece of evidence in a Social Security disability file. A treating doctor's opinion trumps every other opinion in the file, as long as it's supported by the medical evidence. So when Social Security's doctor, when they're reviewing sources, review your file and use that to deny your claim, your treating doctor's report, the questions that he gets asked on a Social Security questionnaire, trumps all of that. And it can make the difference between winning and losing a case.
Yeah, I love that. So again, just emphasizing that is incredibly important. Don't think Social Security is going to do it for you. You got to do those for your loved ones or for yourself. And missed deadlines, that's another really big one. And I think a lot of times, again, it goes back to that it's such an overwhelming process and people just lose track of time. But this is really where the caregiver can come in with a calm, steady presence, with a calendar, mark those dates down. We have to have that stuff in by certain deadlines.
Deadlines are critical in Social Security disability applications. It is a gotcha system, and if the caretaker or individual helping with the application process does not monitor those and comply with those deadlines, the application gets denied and the individual has to start over. It can be devastating. I mean, it can take and add years to the application process.
So, what is your to-do list as a caregiver? You're going to track the work history, document employments and earnings, which a lot of this they can get off of the Social Security website for the individual. Record daily limitations. David, can you talk a little bit about how important it is to actually keep a diary of the changes and the limitations the person is facing?
It is so helpful to me as an advocate to have a journal or a diary documenting the symptoms, the dates, the timeline of cases and problems that individuals experience. Imagine testifying before a judge and having to recall how many headaches or migraines you had in March of 2023. It can be impossible. With a diary, it is specific, it's accurate, and it leaves no doubt.
Yeah. And then people just assume you can say you're sick and I can't work and the claims are going to be approved, but you can't. You have to have evidence of all of this stuff. And there's nothing better than that diary that lists every single day because you're going to forget a lot of things. The caregiver can also then coordinate with the doctors, make sure that the support documentations are in place, and then monitor all of those deadlines, make sure everything is submitted correctly and on time. But the most important part of this is you don't have to do this alone. As a caregiver, your number one job job is to care for the person that you're with. It doesn't mean you have to carry that burden completely alone. There are support systems out there. For instance, disability attorneys. I never recommend someone do a disability application on their own. David, can you just talk a little bit about the process of what it's like to work with a disability attorney? And go ahead and answer it, because I know everyone is asking this. How much does it cost? This is what I hear all the time. I can't afford to pay a disability attorney. But that's not how it works.
Well, I've got really good news, Tabitha. So there is no upfront fee to retain a disability attorney, okay? We only charge a fee if you win your case. So that's upfront, no money required. Consultations are always free. So please, if you're going to file an application for Social Security disability, call a lawyer, get an advocate on your team so that we can step in, guide you through the process, and to make sure you avoid some of these common mistakes, which are completely avoidable.
There's a lot of community resources out there. You know, there are groups that are for caregivers. There are groups for particular types of illnesses. Don't isolate yourself in this. So as a caregiver, reach out to support systems. There's a lot of educational tools that are online now to help you kind of learn through the process. I know I have found it helpful when I'm helping someone with disability. And before I even send them to David to get help, I do a little bit of research on my own just to kind of calm myself down, understand what the process is going to look like. It's a confusing subject. It's a confusing process. It's confusing for us, right? And we're professionals. We do this every day. It's super confusing for just a regular person on the street that has no experience with this. So don't be afraid to reach out for help.
One of the number one questions I get in my practice is, when should I file my claim for disability benefits? We always encourage our clients to file right away. The earlier you sign up, the better. Filing an application for Social Security disability is free. There's no cost. You can withdraw it at any time. And the earlier you apply, the earlier your eligibility date is for both your monthly benefits and potentially for that 24-month Medicare runoff. So to file your application, one of the things you want to do is get a detailed work history set aside, outlining where you work, the names, the addresses. Social Security is going to ask you that during your application process. They're also going to ask you who your medical providers are. So they're going to want to know what doctors have treated you for your impairments, who you're actively seeking, what your impairments are. So it's helpful to have a list of those ready so that when you file your application, it can go smooth and it won't be delayed. And the last thing you want to do is make sure you file for the right program. Again, Social Security is not going to remind you. They're not going to encourage you to file for one program or the other. When you file your application for disability benefits, it's like ordering food at a restaurant. And what I mean by that is they're going to take your order, file your claim, and move on to the next. It is not an advocate approach. It is not a community approach. It is just the opposite. So I would encourage all of those listening today that when you file your claim for disability benefits, make sure you're ready and do it as quick as you can.
So David, how important is it to have a caregiver support you through this?
It is so important. And you can see by the chart on your screen right now that the success rate with an active caregiver significantly increases at each stage of the disability process. So having someone in your corner, having an advocate, having a caregiver makes all the difference. It almost doubles the chance of success. And these advocates and these caregivers are at no cost to you. So it makes sense to have them in your corner. It can save you on time. It can save you on winning or losing your case, and it can make all the difference in between you getting a letter stating that your claim was approved versus being denied and having to start over again at each stage of the process. And that's what this chart outlines. Social Security keeps track of this data. Okay, so we know based on people that have a lawyer and have an advocate versus those that don't, what their success rates are. And you can see on the left how that transitions into wins and losses. And this can be from the things we talked about earlier: missed deadline, failing to provide medical records, failing to get a sufficient opinion from a treating doctor. These are the things that caregivers and lawyers can do that can push your case to the front and ensure that you get the disability benefits you deserve.
So thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned a lot from it. We do have some extra free resources that are available to you. If you go down to the comments, we do have our link to our long-term care planning guide. We also have a private Facebook group that you can join, WV Medicare Questions. Here at Just Us Retirement, we always offer free planning sessions for retirement, long-term care, Medicare questions. And if you have questions about disability, you can call David Pence. Would you like to give your information, Dave?
Sure. Please call me anytime for a free consultation. My number is 304-345-2728.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. David, thank you so much for helping us out today. I hope we made a huge impact on a lot of lives out there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.